Welcome to Truth Recon. I'm Agent D. Baker, former narcotics detective, SWAT team member, and U.S. Navy combat veteran. With years of real world experience in high stakes environments, I've seen firsthand the dangers that lurk both in our communities and now increasingly online. Before this show begins, understand this. What you are about to hear may be disturbing to some audiences. This podcast contains explicit language, dark themes, and real conversations that are not suitable for children and may be triggering for some individuals. If you choose to continue, do so knowing this content is intended for mature audiences only. Discretion is advised. What's up, everybody? Hope everyone's having a good Friday night. Should have a pretty interesting show tonight because I'm pretty pissed off about a couple of different things. So, usually know how that goes. But I appreciate everyone for being on. And man, I don't even know where to start tonight. If you haven't seen it, I did put out a short podcast video today about the Blount County nurse that was making the horrible comments on social media that were very troubling to me coming from a nurse and would make me worry that if, as a mandatory reporter in the state of Alabama, that if she would actually report a child being harmed if the suspect was a friend of hers. And that's a very big worry. And I don't understand how some people don't see that. Like, why are you attacking her for having an opinion? It's not about her opinion. It's how she is. A nurse publicly speaking out and taking up for a child predator is a very big red flag. It's the kind of red flag that a lot of people look past, and then on down the road, people go, well, you know what? We probably should have seen that coming. And so I just don't understand it. But you take up for a child predator and we see it, we're going to call you out. We're going to give you your 15 minutes of fame because I want everyone that's around you to know who you are, who you really are, and how you really feel. And also, I don't want anyone that has children to be around you, and I want them to know. And any good parent is not going to have their child around someone that would stand up and speak up for a known child predator. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Monica. We'll be praying for y'all. I'm so sorry to hear that. Monica's little cousin, Ray, that she had been talking about so much, passed away this evening. I'm very sorry to hear that. But yeah, too many pedo sympathizers, and that's the whole culture. That's the reason we have so many child predators, and that's the reason so many child predators get away with what they are doing because of people minimizing it. It's nuts. And hold on, let me see if we can announce. We do have a huge announcement to make. I'm trying to check and see if we can announce it yet. Okay, still not 100% sure, but I will say this. Hope nothing happens with it now, but if nothing changes, we will have an extremely special live show this Monday at 2:30 p.m. Central Time. But until I get the go to announce who it is, I'm not going to. But as soon as I do get the go ahead to announce that, I will. So I don't know if that'll be tonight or tomorrow. But if there's any way possible, Monday, 2:30 p.m. Central Time, you don't want to miss the live. I'm very, very pumped about it. It's a really big deal. I think it'll be it's up there for me. It's as exciting if actually no, I don't know if I can say this. I don't think I can say is more exciting than when I was on Chris Hansen's podcast, but it is up there. It will definitely be the yes, I don't know how you'd say it. The biggest podcast that I will have as of yet. Anyway, it's very exciting. Then I don't even know what all else we have. It's been a long week. I'm worn out from this week. We've had a lot coming up and a lot going on. Speaking of Chris Hansen, if you have not listened to his latest podcast with Ashley Cole, and Ashley was the lead investigator on the Josh Stapleton case, make sure you go and catch that. And you can go to Chris Hansen's YouTube and watch the podcast there, or Spotify, Apple Podcast, anywhere you get your podcast. But you don't want to miss that one. It's very powerful. It's deep. It is very deep. Not one for children, that is for sure. And you will probably, I think if you have if you're a normal person at all, you're probably going to cry a little bit through it. It's deep. I found watch what again? Chris Hansen's latest podcast with Ashley Cole. And Ashley was the lead investigator on the Josh Stapleton case in Georgia. And she tells all the details. And I mean, I've had quite a few conversations with Ashley now. She's coming on my podcast as well. She's an awesome person. And I think we're going to end up doing a lot of other things together as well. But I found out something that I didn't know, some new details just from watching his podcast. Trigger warning, because what I'm about to tell you is sick. but I want people to know how sick Josh Stapleton is. And his wife, Brittany, is still out here taking up for him and making money off of him. She's got 120-something thousand followers, the last I saw. And all these people that have bought into her lies about him. Yeah, Christina, that's exactly what I was going to talk about. So I knew that there were thousands of images. He wasn't charged with that many, but I knew there were thousands of images. I knew a lot of little details here and there. I did not know and realize that quite a few of the images, the data, videos, pics, whatever, all the above that he had downloaded, that he had uploaded, and viewed multiple times. Because if you don't realize this, single thing you do on your phone or computer, when law enforcement downloads that device, we can go back and see every single click you ever made. Like, we can mirror every move you've ever made. So you're able to see exactly how many times someone watched a video. I mean, how many times they pulled it up, everything. Whether you delete it or not, it's there. But multiple of those images were with prepubescent children and animals. That's the person that every one of you sickos that's still following Brittany Stapleton, that is one of her paid followers, and that keeps on speaking up for her and taking up for her. That's what you're standing up for. And y'all have heard me say since the very first time I ever read the full indictments on him that it was literally the worst thing I'd ever read in my entire life. And that's saying a lot, because I've had to see a lot of sick things in my career. I've had a lot of sick conversations with people. That was the sickest things I'd ever read in my life. And I will never, under no circumstance, ever read those indictments again. I won't. Once you listen to Ashley, you're going to hear the exact same thing. And I don't want to speak for Ashley again. I want you to go watch the podcast with her and Chris Henson. And again, she's going to be on mine very soon. But it was so bad. That case was the worst she had ever worked. And she was a career investigator that worked trial crimes. That's what she did. And it was so bad that it caused her so many mental problems that she had to leave law enforcement for good. It put her in a very dark place. Very dark. And we have his wife out downplaying this so much and acting like he's a good person. And look, I understand if you have never worked law enforcement and never been any part of these type of investigations or anything, or actually sit across from true evil. I completely understand, and I'm glad that you can't fully comprehend what we're talking about. I'm glad, because you deserve to live in that somewhat of a bubble. Law enforcement doesn't get to. We don't get to live in that bubble. But so, I mean, I understand why it's hard for some people and a lot of people to just fully comprehend what we're trying to say, but I don't understand this one. I don't know how much clearer we can be. And then we see the, and I think I did a video, a podcast about it as well, with his latest. Josh Stapleton's attorney just filed this motion in the last week of May, where they found this expert psychiatrist trying to say he accidentally stumbled upon some images, and since he was already that because he was already aroused from watching adult stuff, that when the child stuff came up, he just couldn't help it but to make himself even happier, which we know that's BS anyway. But knowing all the details we know, especially now after listening to Ashley, come on. Some of those things were viewed hundreds of times on his computer. This guy's sick. And probably no matter what, within 5 years, he's going to be back out on the street. And as soon as he gets out, mark my words, you're going to see this because of these sick, horrible human beings that are supporting her and him. He's going to be back on TikTok, and they're going to be making their videos. And people are going to be posting about how awesome they are and about how much they love them. Think about that. But yet, it pisses me off so bad. I can't hardly control myself when I'm thinking about it, because I cannot comprehend the ignorance in that. I can't. And if you are one of those people that sympathize with them, I want nothing to do with you. I want to be very clear about that. I'm being real. If you sympathize with a child predator, if you take up for a child predator, and definitely if you are a child predator, I will not help you in any way whatsoever if you ever need my help. I will actually stand back and laugh at you. I'm just being honest. I know that's not politically correct to say. I know that's not nice of me to say. I know it's unchristian-like for me to say. I'm just telling you my true feelings. Maybe one day I'll fix that and I'll get better at that. But as of right now, that's where I am. I have nothing for you, because you do not care about how many children are harmed horribly. You do not care about how many children's lives are completely changed. I don't get it. I don't get it, and I never will. They are everywhere. And the reason they are allowed to be everywhere is because of these sympathizers. And we see the comments every single day. In fact, I was just on my, hold on just a second. Let me pull it up very quickly. I was just on my Facebook just a few hours ago, and came upon some comments that a few people had made under it was my video I made on the Blount County nurse that I put out today. And it's just, this is exactly what we're talking about. So this comment was made by Denise. This Denise Hyatt Smith you see here. Derek Baker, have you seen the text made between the 16-year-old girl or 18? I don't know where that comes from. And the SRO in question? I haven't, and I doubt anyone making accusations have it either. However, if they were as bad as these people are making them out to be, I would have pressed charges if she were my daughter when it supposedly happened. And all of the people making accusations about someone who hasn't been charged with these allegations could be facing lawsuits. Please, please, God, Joseph Reagan, sue me. Because the things you put out in your deposition will get you sent to prison for the rest of your life. Please sue me. Let's do it. I'll take a lawsuit over it for that. Anyway, this is why you shouldn't make comments when you really have no idea what you're talking about, when you have not researched anything about it. Because if Denise, which I'm guessing she probably has, she just doesn't care because she's trying to take up for this child predator. I don't need to read the text between the 16-year-old and Joseph Reagan. I read the messages between Joseph Reagan and the victim's mother, where he admits to all of it very clearly. That's not up for debate. I mean, it's not my opinion. It's fact. Where he says, if you turn me in, I'm going to get fired. And also, she says, I would have pressed charges if she were my daughter. They tried to, Denise. That's the fucking problem here. That is the problem. She went to the police. She went to the sheriff's office where he worked, and they wouldn't do anything. The only thing they did is forced him to resign, which let him go move right to another law enforcement agency and start doing the same thing. So the parents tried to do that. Instead of making a comment on my post, why don't you actually watch my video, my podcast I put out, and you would have known that. Because I've stated it numerous times. It gets a lot worse with Denise. That's the best one she made, honestly. Let me get back to her. Let me find her again. There we go. Make this a little bigger so I don't get a headache trying to read this very small writing. Much better. All right. Now here's one that just really starts pissing. This is when I really start getting pissed at Denise. She says, "What did he do to her? Nothing physical happened." First off, we don't know. We hope nothing physical happened, but truth is, we don't know. I'm not going to say something physical happened because, again, we don't know. But for that to be your, as long as nothing physical happened, that's like saying a physically abusive relationship is the only abuse you can take, is the only abuse that exists in a domestic violence situation. Because as I've said before, and anyone that's a victim of domestic violence will tell you, most of the time, mental abuse is worse than the physical abuse. Again, this is common sense stuff. Common sense stuff. But Denise is okay with it since nothing physical happened. And then she says, "Do I have proof?" Yes, everybody has the proof. It's out there. The messages between he and the mother are there. And again, if you need more proof than that, then you're just ignorant or you're choosing to stay blind. And this is her. I haven't seen proof of these things. I can't help you can't read, Denise, which is not shocking to me that you don't know how to read, but. And since words doesn't matter to Denise, I guess we can say whatever we want to about her and call her whatever we want. It's not going to bother her because it's just nothing. It's not. We're not beating her. But every comment with Denise it gets worse and worse, unfortunately. So here we go. Denise says, "I read the text between him and the girl's mother. The mother asked him to step down as SRO, and he complied." You're right, Denise. Problem solved. It's over. Why are we still talking about it? So Denise did read the messages, and it's obvious in Denise's mind, she doesn't care what he did. And she does, and again, this is the problem. She does not see anything wrong with it. This is the ignorance. She does not see anything wrong with it. So if you have children, I would not have them around Denise, or if she is married, around her husband, because there's a decent chance that may be the reason she doesn't see anything wrong with it. Here may be the worst one that I've read so far on Denise. I haven't read all of her comments. He made a mistake by talking to and texting a 16-year-old girl. And she keeps saying this, or 18. I haven't seen sexting, so I can't comment on that. If I had proof that it happened, I would be the first to say that he wasn't the person I know. I don't take comments on Facebook for face value without proof. Again, Denise, the proof is there. You're refusing to see it. He admits to all of this in his message between he and the victim's mother. And I saw somebody post something. Let me make sure I'm clear, because I may have I want to be clear on this and what I mean. It said, Derek Baker said he has proof and he's going to post it eventually. I will never and ever be posting the messages between the minor and him out of respect for the victim. So if I said something that made somebody think that, I'm sorry, but no, I will never be posting those. But again, we don't need those. All the proof we need, we have and we have seen. There's no need in we don't have to have any other evidence. But he made a mistake. No, that is not a mistake. Go find a grown man that says he made a mistake by trying. I don't even know how to word it. That made a mistake by being a child predator. I mean that's what it is. The only person that's going to make that mistake is a child predator, because normal grown men like myself, and like I hope every man that's watching this, no, that's not a mistake we would ever make, because that's a child. Literally not a mistake we would ever make. This is not a mistake. And it is so disrespectful to every child victim out there for you to call this a mistake. That is you downplaying it. Then she says, nobody has proven to me that he is a PDF. Again, we have, Denise, you just refuse to see it, or you're just that ignorant, which is possible. I don't support PDFs and never will. But you can't just say someone is because they talked to and text a teen. Actually, you can. Someone texting and saying very inappropriate things to a 16-year-old, that's your proof. I appreciate that, George, because I'm the one standing up here taking down child predators. What are you doing tonight? You sitting in grandma's basement? Anyway. I'm 43, to be exact. And the fact that you have a problem with what I do tells me a lot about you, George, and you probably need to be investigated as well. And I wonder what images you have on your computer. Team, can y'all check his profile out and let's see if we need to report him, like, to his local law enforcement, or if we need to investigate him ourselves, because we will. Anyway, they'll call themselves out because they're ignorant. A case I'm talking about is out of Blountsville, Alabama, where the now thankfully former police chief of Blountsville City he's a child predator, and that was learned back in 2021 when he was sending extremely inappropriate text, extremely inappropriate, and trying to physically hook up with a 16-year-old who was a high school student at the high school that he was the SRO of, the school resource officer of. For some people, it's about proof. They don't like to accuse unless they've got we have hard evidence. That's what I'm saying. I am a very experienced investigator. For the last 10 years, I've traveled around this country teaching investigators how to conduct investigations. I've testified in court close to 1,000 times, if not over 1,000. I've been an expert witness hundreds of times. The hard evidence is there. Again, if you refuse to open your eyes to the hard evidence, that's your fault, not ours. But if you think, I'll tell you what, just like I told Denise, if you think that my attorney, who I'm sure is watching right now, would allow me to post a video like I did about Joseph Reagan, or all the podcasts I've posted about him so far, without knowing 100% it being fact, you're crazy. Hold on. I'm sorry. Did I just call out the wrong person? Hold on. Let me, because now, hold on. Oh, Denise is on here. I'm glad you took my advice and tuned in tonight, Denise, because I may post a podcast about you tomorrow for over 150,000 people to watch and know who you are by standing up for a child predator. Could you, seriously, Denise, could you explain to us how you don't understand that he is a child predator? And do you understand why no one should have their child around you, or if you're married, or your husband, because you don't see a problem with what he did with this 16-year-old girl? Therefore, if your husband was doing the same thing to a 16-year-old or 13-year-old or 9-year-old, you wouldn't see a problem with it. It's not a laughing matter, Denise. This is the problem. Nothing that we're fucking talking about, Denise, is funny. The fact that you find it funny that there are child predators makes it even more troubling. You are the reason child predators feel so confident to do what they do, and you don't even realize that. Do you have children? Again, Denise, if you can't read, I can't help you. But the proof is there. You stated you read the messages between he and the victim's mother. Literally all the proof you need. Do you not understand how he admitted to all of it in those messages? Do you understand his wife made a post just in the last week admitting that he did those things? just trying to say that it was okay, that he didn't do anything that bad, and that they were over it because she knew about it? Denise, if you don't know for sure he's a predator now, that's your own ignorance. Because again, the hard evidence is there. He admits to it numerous times throughout those messages. And trust me, Denise is not going to get many followers. She's not that interesting of a person. My team and I already checked out her profile and ran pretty much a whole background investigation on her. So we know a lot about Denise. Because, see, I know we can go through comments and catch child predators quite often because we have before, because they will call themselves out. Because, again, fortunately, some of them are not the smartest people in the world. Some are. We don't need to underestimate their intelligence. But some are not, thankfully, and they will call themselves out. Denise, you're supporting a predator by refusing to admit Joseph Reagan is a predator. And again, if you think my attorney would allow me to post the things that I post about Joseph and the things I'm saying right now without us knowing 100% that they're factual, you're not that bright. I do not post videos and claim they're factual unless I know for a fact they are factual. Hence the reason I've never been sued. In this career, anyway. Okay. I do not. Okay. We are going to have to block George because he likes men. And I don't particularly have no problem with people that do, but I don't want them making those comments about me, knowing their thoughts. So, yeah, we're going to block George. I already told y'all I was pissed tonight before this even started. Maybe she's jealous he didn't choose her. No, Denise is way too old for Joseph. And I'm allowed to talk about old people because people call me old, so. Yeah, Denise. You know who else's records were squeaky clean? Ted Bundy's. I could name off at least 5 more serial, insert the last word, that their records were squeaky clean. I could also tell you that over 80% of child predators do not have a previous criminal record. Rhonda, you know I was just joking. Exactly, Ashley. Predators aren't walking around with tags around their neck. That's why they get away with it so much, because they are what we think of as normal people, average people in society. They don't stand out. They're very they're very good at manipulation. They they fool everybody. That's the sad part about them. And they're in every career. Law enforcement, medical field. I mean, there's doctors, lawyers, judges, nurses, construction workers, business owners, politicians. Again, most of those people have squeaky clean records, which is why a very large percentage of child predators, once they are actually caught, they take themselves out because they can't handle it. Exactly, Melissa. Oh, and I left out, unfortunately, preachers, church leaders, teachers. No, that they're everywhere. Ted Bundy's a far fetched stretch. John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy had a completely clean record. He had a completely normal family. His wife and kids had no idea what he was doing at night. And he's responsible for taking a lot of lives. As evil as could be. Criminal record, completely squeaky clean. He'd never been in any trouble a day in his life. Yes, your children's friends, parents. You can't be too careful. But again, this is the problem. People like Denise, people like George that are literally they think it's funny, that's evil. Okay. I can't think of, nor would I ever be able to think of anything funny about a child predator. It's not a funny conversation to have. It's not a fun conversation to have. It is a necessary conversation to have, unfortunately. But there's nothing fun about talking about it. But Denise thinks it's funny. And George thinks it's funny. Which a great dad joke just popped in my head. It's ironic since George is funny himself. That was a good dad joke. I don't care what you say. Look at the language are you talking about these arbitrary words that you have declared to be bad words? This is the problem, Denise. Just like 3 or 4 people just commented, you're acting like somebody using what you call foul language is a bad thing while you're standing up for a child predator. I just, trust me, the last thing I want to be doing right now is talking about child predators. But we have to, because not enough people are. A lot of people are scared to talk about it. A lot of people are too uncomfortable to talk about it. So we have to talk about it because I want to bring awareness to people like Denise, to people like, what was the nurse's name I made the video on about? I can't even remember. Somebody else said it in a minute. Whoa. Hold on, who said that? Brandy? Brandy, where did your comment go? I have a pic. So Brandy said, and I have a picture of my husband sitting on John Wayne Gacy's lap as he is dressed as a clown and did my husband's birthday party. Brandy, will you please send that to me? That is crazy. Wow. That's crazy. Please send that to me, though. Seriously. What's up, not Dr. Phil? I can't take guests on like TikTok because I'm on. Oh, I don't have my thing up because I'm on numerous different platforms, live on numerous platforms right now. So the other platforms wouldn't be able to see you or anything. If you are interested in being a guest on the podcast or live, go to my website, agentdbaker.com, and you fill out the contact thing on there and let us know, and we will get you on. When do I get invited to this famous group chat, by the way? I've been waiting for my invite. Every day I wake up and I look if I've been invited yet. No. I'm feeling left out. Oh, that's spot on, Isha. Isha said, what's nasty is the whole conversation we have to have about a PDF that you agree is okay as long as it's not physical. Please don't try to be offended by language. Pick a side. Nice catch, Isha, because I didn't even think about it that way, but you're spot on. And that first hour went by quick. Hey, thank you for all those gifts, Addison. I was in it and left. That's not true. I don't think that's true. Derek, your own team has a group chat without you. There's people on my team that tell me things. That's the main reason I wanted it is because of Isha. She's very entertaining. One of the sitting Blountsville town councilmen. See, Catherine says one of the sitting Blountsville town councilmen is a child predator. So yes, of course, they overlooked Reagan's behavior. So one of the previous councilmen has emailed me and wants me to call them. We've not gotten around to it yet, but we will. So I don't know what they're wanting to tell us, but we'll see. But I found that interesting. Cody, do you realize you're replying to yourself? It always confuses me when people reply to themselves. So did the Etowah County Sheriff's Department go after him? No, they didn't do enough. No, they just let him resign. And they saw all the evidence. And they just let him resign. Now, a lot of people failed this victim. And all of those that failed this victim are the reason there were more victims after that. Samuel Bentley ran for Hamilton mayor a few years back. I didn't realize that. Yeah, George was hitting on me, and honestly, it was pretty awkward, so we had to block him. No, she's not the only victim. Yes, Brandy. Yes, law enforcement, medical, clergy are all mandatory reporters in, and there's more. There's a long list, but are all mandatory reporters in Alabama. Yeah, it's exactly. That is exactly what this council did. They let him resign. That's wrong, and that's why we're going to be going after the entire Blountsville City Council currently and the current mayor, because they should not have. First off, he should have never been hired because they knew. Someone I think is either coming or someone messaged me that said, I wish Blountsville City Council would have known before they hired him, because they wouldn't have hired him. They did know. They did know. And I have a, let me find that comment from one of the he was a previous city councilman there, and he was there when Reagan was hired, and he said, I mean, he says that as well. Hey, Rosemary, I appreciate you being on, and Carolyn from North Carolina. Let's see. Oh, Katie is the name of that nurse, by the way. Should have known that. I've got like 5 Katies on my team. Pretty common name, apparently. Also, we also discovered that uh, Katie Kilgore, her husband Brian Kilgore, they also own a business, which is scary. Yeah, here it is. Let me pull it up. Oh, already did. There it is. Yeah, so Ray Baxley made this post a couple days ago. I have not seen the post that led to this, but based on Shannon's remarks, and Shannon Reagan is Joseph Reagan, the PDF's wife. I know what it is about. I was on town council when Joe was hired and was fully aware of the situation and was satisfied as to how it was handled. If I at all had any doubts about Joe, I would have not voted to hire him. Since being on the police department, Joe has done an excellent job and has moved the department to be a department to be proud of. He accepted the chief's position knowing that he had an uphill battle, and I am proud of the job he has done. So, yeah, this is truly unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's crazy and unbelievable that the council would hire him knowing what happened. It's even crazy. It's even more crazy to me and more unbelievable that the one of the previous town councilman's town councilman would post on social media publicly that he was aware that he was fully aware of it and quote was satisfied as to how it was handled. That's crazy. That is crazy. We look, I fully understand that we have an issue in this country with, again, too many child predator sympathizers, too many people that don't understand it, that are, and I think, honestly, I think a big part of it is just ignorance. I don't think there's that many people that are just evil, and I think a big part of it is ignorance. I think they're too dumb to comprehend and understand what's going on. And that's, I mean, I'm an optimist, and so I don't want to believe there are that many people that are that evil. But it truly doesn't matter which one it is. We have to change that, and therefore that's why we're talking about it, and that's why we have to talk about it, and that's why we have to talk about it a lot more. And that's why I have no problem with calling out anyone that is trying to stand up for a child predator on social media. I have no problem calling them out. And if they get fired, they get fired. I don't care. Let me make that clear. If you out yourself as a child predator sympathizer and then I call you out and your job fires you, I don't care. I want to be clear about that. I don't want you to mistake that I will have bad feelings about that. I won't. I will sleep very good at night because I stand up against child predators and child predator sympathizers while you are standing up for the child predator. And we don't need those type of people in the medical field. We don't need those type of people leading churches. We don't need those type of people leading police, law enforcement agencies. We don't. And they don't need to keep their jobs. Katie Kilgore 100% needs to lose her job as a nurse. Because I have absolutely no confidence in her that if she observed someone harming a child like that, and if they were her friend, I have no confidence that she would report them. In fact, I would bet she wouldn't. We don't need that. She needs to find a new line of work. I don't care how nice she was to you when you saw her at the hospital. I don't care. Again, I don't care how much good a child predator has done in the world. I do not care. None of that makes up for harming a child. None of it. So I don't care if 99% of the time, let me be clear, I do not care if 99% of the time you're an amazing nurse and the best nurse ever. If that 1% of the time you refuse to stand up to a child predator and you take the side of a child predator over a child, that's enough for me to know you don't need to be in that field. Damien, isn't this the very reason Radius files were created? Yes. And I spoke about that the other night. The problem, we have to fix Radius. And if you're not familiar, in the state of Alabama, Radius is the reporting system that law enforcement agencies have for when they have a officer or deputy be disciplined. Then they are supposed to put, if the officer did something bad, they're supposed to put that in their Radius file. And then when that officer leaves that agency, whether if they're forced to resign, if they're fired, or whatever the reason they left is because of some bad conduct, they are supposed that a law enforcement agency is supposed to put that in their radius file, and that radius file is kept by APOS, the Alabama Peace Officers Standards and Training Commission, which is who allows law enforcement officers to be certified. It's who certifies law enforcement officers in Alabama. And so that way, when you go to apply for another law enforcement agency, they can easily look at your radius file and go, hold on, we're not hiring you because this is what you got in trouble here at this last agency. Even though you're saying this, we see, no, you didn't. The problem with radius is I've gotten a whole group of over 30 law enforcement officers, former law enforcement officers now in Alabama, that are radius has harmed them and kept them from getting another job, not because they did something wrong, but because they pissed off their chief, their sheriff, their captain, and then their chief, sheriff, captain lied about them in their radius file. And officers are not allowed to see what's in the radius file. They're not allowed to. They don't even know. So they have no way of defending it. So when a law enforcement agency looks and sees, oh, your last agency said you did this, so we're not hiring you, you don't even know. You don't know what they're seeing. That's not right. You should have a way to defend yourself. So what we're seeing and how radius has backfired is exactly what we're talking about here. I guarantee you yeah, exactly, Kevin. Before, like Kevin said, used to, they didn't have to tell you why you were let go or dismissed. The agency was only allowed to tell the next agency if they would rehire you or if they wouldn't. And that's it. Well, radius was created again to stop these horrible officers from just moving from agency to agency. But again, what we're seeing is good police officers are doing the right thing, and say their chief or their captain doesn't want them to do the right thing. And so they tell them, no, you're going to do it like this. And they say, no, I'm not. That's illegal or whatever. And so they force them to resign. They run them off, and then they lie about them in the radius. And then they're not able to get hired anywhere else. Then on the other hand, what we're seeing is agencies like Etowah County Sheriff's Office, they didn't put this in his radius file. I guarantee you, I would bet everything that Blountsville did not put any of this in his radius file when they let him go, when they forced him to resign the other day. I guarantee you. So what it's turned into is it's a popularity thing. If your agency liked you, no matter how bad you were, they're not going to put anything bad in radius about you. If they didn't, no matter how good you were, they're going to put something bad in radius about you. And no, there's no way to dispute it. Again, I've got over 30 that we're working up a thing with. It's not right. And I've heard these officer stories and I've verified them. And again, I mean, I know anybody that's worked in law enforcement will tell you it's impossible. Law enforcement agencies are a lot like high school. It's impossible for everybody to like you. Everybody's not going to like you. And there's going to be some people, no matter how good of an officer you are, there's going to be some people that do not like you and are going to hate on you no matter what. And they're going to do everything they can to ruin your career. It happens in every single agency. Every single one. And if that person that don't like you is very high in rank, you're screwed. That's not the way it should be. and we have to fix that. And I think, I can't say too much, but I think there's about to be quite a few law enforcement leaders that are about to get their ass suit off of them, and they're going to lose over this deal. And it's about to all backfire in their face, hopefully. But we have to fix it because it's not working like it's supposed to. Because again, that's exactly why Joseph Reagan is able to go to 3 different law enforcement agencies after he left, or at least 2 different agencies after he left Etowah County. We got to fix it. We have to. So that's another thing that pisses me off so bad. I mean, trust me, I have haters in law enforcement. I know a particular one that's I think he's a captain now in an agency. For whatever reason, and honestly, I have no clue, he has hated me ever since the first day I started in law enforcement. And he has tried everything he can. He tried everything he could to take my career down. It never worked, thankfully, but he tried everything. Still, I think he still runs his mouth about me. Actually, I know he does. And he's very high up in a very large, respected agency. And so if it was up to him, I would have never got hired with another law enforcement agency ever. Because there's no doubt in my mind he would have lied about me. I mean, he has. He's told tons of lies about me. And I've never done anything to the guy. It's just the way it is sometimes. Now, some people that hate me in law enforcement have a good reason. I probably said something bad to them. They probably pissed me off, and I was myself a little too much at times, and they probably have a good reason. But that guy doesn't. Exactly who is responsible for entering info into Radius. Whoever in most smaller agencies, it's the chief or the sheriff. At some larger ones, it's probably a chief deputy or assistant chief or something like that. Somebody that they put in charge of that, so it can be given to whoever that agency wants to, as far as who's responsible for handling Radius. But like a place like Blountsville, it would be the chief, which since it was the chief, it's going to be on whoever they have made the interim chief. And like somebody just said, around here, talking about Blountsville, they said the interim chief puts what the council tells them to. And in cities, sometimes, especially smaller ones, unfortunately, that's true. I only worked for one city, and I was very lucky because it was a great city. Had great mayor, or good mayor. I don't know if I'd say great. A good mayor and a good city council, and an amazing chief. So I didn't have to put up with a lot of the BS that a lot of police officers that work for cities do. But police departments are way more political than sheriff's offices, and that to most people doesn't make sense, because they're like, wait a minute, the sheriff is actually an elected official, police chief is not. The problem with city police departments is the chief is not the boss, and he should be, but the chief is not the boss. The city council is. So you have the city council, who most of the time have no law enforcement experience at all, so they don't understand it, but they're trying to boss around the police department, and it never works out well. The sheriff in a county, he's the boss. He doesn't have a boss. And so if you have a good sheriff, you're going to have a really good agency. But unfortunately, in city police departments, you could have the best chief ever, and if you have a horrible city council and mayor, you're going to have a horrible police department. I've seen it so many times. I don't know how I got off on that rant, by the way, but we'll get back to business here. Denise left because she couldn't handle the nasty language, she said. It's so ironic. I don't doubt that, Katie. We'll be fine. Oh, Denise is still here. Denise, have we... What's the word I'm looking for? Have we successfully changed your opinion on child predators? Yeah, and if you're not, thank you for that follow, Dustin. If you're not following me or subscribe, depending on what platform you're on, please do that. I really appreciate it. I am live on Mondays and Friday nights. I go live on 3 different platforms, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. So you can catch me live on Mondays and Fridays, 8 p.m. Central on any 3 of those. On Wednesday nights, I go live at 8 p.m. I think I said that wrong. Friday nights is 9 p.m. Central. Mondays and Wednesdays is 8 p.m. Central. But Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Central, I'm only live on YouTube. So make sure, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, it's Agent D Baker, make sure you subscribe to that so you don't miss my Wednesday night lives. And that's because I like to have at least one live a week where I can be more outspoken. If you can believe I can be more outspoken, because I can. But we don't have to be as careful on YouTube as the things we say as we do on some of the other platforms. So, but Wednesday night lives, don't miss those. They're usually pretty good. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. And again, you can either look me up on YouTube, Agent D Baker, or go to my website, agentdbaker.com, and click on the YouTube link there, and it'll take you there, and hit subscribe. You can find all the information you ever need to know about me on my website. Everything's on there, all the platforms I'm on. And if you have information to send me, or have a question for me, or are interested in being a guest on the podcast, whatever the case may be, go to my website, agentdbaker.com, and click on the contact button. You can't miss it. And all you have to do is put your name, email address, and the message. Very simple. Well, and Miss Holly said you can go on Rumble and say whatever you want to say. I know, and we're on Rumble. And for a while, I was posting everything on Rumble and was going live on there too, but it just wasn't built. I mean, last time I checked, I had like 8 followers on Rumble. I don't know, for whatever reason, it is extremely hard to grow on Rumble. It's my favorite pod. Rumble is my favorite platform of all time. It's the best platform because, again, you don't have to watch what you say about anything. You can be fully open. But I can't get people to follow me on there for some reason. So we'll just have to wait till we get bigger on the other ones, and then hopefully Rumble will come along. You have some very nasty supporters. Calling me names is very immature. Denise, I'm being honest. It is so ironic that you don't see it. Have you ever looked at somebody and said, do you understand that you're worried about the wrong things in life? That's you right now, Denise. You're not worried about a child predator, but you're worried about somebody calling you a name or somebody, as you state, using foul language or nasty language, which again, I don't stand up to I don't go on the hype of these arbitrary words that who knows who at some point in history declared, these are bad words, don't say them, because that's exactly what they are. So I don't care. They're not bad words to me. There's one curse word to me, and that is GD. And you will, if you ever hear me say that, slap me. And don't be anywhere around me, because that means I'm probably the maddest I've ever been in my life. But I try my best to never say that. I don't like that word, but that's the only curse word there is. I'm a Christian, and as a Christian, I believe that's the only curse word there is. So these other arbitrary words that you can't even say on TikTok, I don't understand. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. But my children are allowed to curse or use words that a lot of people claim are curse words. I don't care. Funny thing is, my son's allowed to. He never does. I've never heard him say a curse. He probably never will. So it's kind of funny how that works out. But I think my daughter will. She's a lot more like my wife. I think she's going to throw the F word out there every once in a while. But no, Denise, somebody saying these words that you claim are nasty just because you deem them nasty in your mind for whatever reason is not the problem in the world today. The problem in the world today are child predators and other things. But someone saying a nasty word, as you call them, should be the least of your worries of everything. Oh, Dustin, we've been on Blountsville and Blount County for about a week now. Yeah, it's literally what we're talking about right now, too. Melissa said, yeah, so let's change gears right quick for a second. Locals here think those ads being put out by the attorney, Blake Milner, are scams. They're not scams. It's real. So what Melissa is talking about is we're going to jump over to Hamilton, Alabama right quick and talking about the ramp, which is if you've not seen my podcast, and Also, by the way, I forgot to mention a while ago, I do a full podcast, and you can only see my full podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. So again, make sure you subscribe to one of those so you can catch my full podcast. Anyway, I've done a bunch of podcasts on the Ramp, which is a cult disguised as a ministry out of Hamilton, Alabama, where their main campus is in Hamilton. They also have a campus in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and one in the UK. But their leader is Karen Wheaton. And about 3 months ago, it was finally discovered that her son-in-law, Samuel Bentley, who was also second in command of her cult and CFO, he was finally forced to come out and admit that he had abused at least 2 minors. We now know there are a lot more victims. He had been doing it for over 20 years as part of the Ramp. A lot more victims. So we're trying to get that cult shut down. It's a very serious thing. I don't throw the word cult around lightly. This is legit a cult. This is not just because it's a mega church, I'm calling it a cult. I go to a mega church. This is a true cult, and we have proven that. But anyway, there's so many victims now, and we've also found out there's at least, what were we up to, 6 or 7 other known child predators that have been on staff or currently on staff at the Ramp as well. So it's a whole culture there. It's a horrible thing. Thousands of people are still going there. And what was the name? Blake Milner. Here, let me pull up the ad. Because we do, I have been asked to make sure to put this out so people know this is legit. I know a couple of you have messaged us asking, but this is legit. Let me get it pulled up. I wish I hadn't even pulled Facebook up, because now this is not going to be the best night for me. We'll get on that in a minute. Anyway, let's get back to. So here's one of the ads. Let's go ahead and save this. So you're going to see these ads popping up on social media, and these are legit. These are 100% legit. This law firm, Singleton and Schreiber, are, if you, because there's hundreds of victims now, we know. So as this says, were you hurt by someone in a position of trust at the Ramp Church or Ramp University? Contact this law firm. They got their phone number. And there's a couple of different flyers floating around. This is one of them. There's another one. But any that you see with this Singleton and Schreiber, this is legit. And they are wanting more victims to come forward and speak with them. So if you are a victim or you know of someone that is a victim, have them contact them. Denise is the, are you kidding? So Denise is Shannon Reagan's aunt? That figures. The delay in Samuel Bentley's arrest is they're just waiting for grand jury. And I don't know when grand jury's meeting next in Marion County, but that's what they're waiting on. Lowingo, you know Miss Holly? No, Miss Holly's awesome. Oh, no, you're exactly right, William. He said, this is probably why Karen is selling everything. She knew this was coming. No, she knows it's coming. Like she knows it's coming to an end, and she's going to try to cash in as much as she can before. Also on that, so we are planning a peaceful protest. I think we're supposed to call it a public demonstration for the Ramp, one of their summer camps in July. And I think I promised to put some things on the website in regards to that, where you can go volunteer or sign up. And I haven't gotten to that yet, but I will get to that this weekend. So by Monday, that'll be up, because now I have had quite a few send me message via the website and tell me that you would be there and the date that would be best for you. So thank you for that. But I need more, but I will make that easier on there, because again, we need to get a kind of an approximate number, and I hope it's a really good crowd. But we need to go out there, and again, we have to bring a lot more awareness to this, because thousands of people have signed up for their summer camps. Tons of children. This is bad. There are still actively child predators on staff at the Ramp. We know that. Please, can you find answers as to why Jessica Earls got away with posting a video that included her 3-year-old niece? Team, do we know who Jessica Earls is? Name doesn't sound familiar to me. But yeah, we've got to, and most of the people that are going to be attending are from out of town, and so they may legit be clueless as to what's going on. Because if you watch Karen Wheaton's videos, you have no idea that they're going through this, which is sad. She has not once brought up the victims of this. She has not once said, let's pray for the victims. Hey, I'm sorry about that. Not once. She is literally trying to act like it's not even happened. Yeah, I don't know that I'm familiar with this Glamour person you're talking about, but I'll have my team look into it. But we've got to stop this. And also, when I say peaceful protest, public demonstration, I mean that. It will be 100% peaceful. So if you are planning on coming, or if you do come, and you're even thinking about in any way whatsoever getting out of line, you're going to be removed. We are not going to put up with that. We're not going to stoop to their levels. Everything we do will be 100% legal always. So we're not going to be the ones causing the problems. We're going to be the ones bringing awareness to the problems and fixing the problems. And I take that very serious. Yeah, Catherine, somebody said that a while ago. That makes sense. Oh, this Glamour person you were talking about lives in... Tracy, is that who you're talking about that lives in Barry? In Fayette? I thought you were talking about somebody that was just on like a creator somewhere. Oh, we'll definitely look into that. That's practically right up the road from me. If she lives in Barry, she lives about 45 minutes from where I do, just direct north. So that's not far. Also, we're going to switch back over to Blountsville right quick. Someone had messaged me and said that the city of Blountsville, on their, I guess it was their Facebook page, that they made the post about the chief resigning, and then they turned their comments off. Let me explain something, because I do understand that a lot of these smaller towns and cities legit don't understand the Constitution. I'm not trying to make fun of them. I'm just being honest. If you are a government entity in any way whatsoever, and you have a social media page, you cannot turn off comments, and you cannot delete comments. You will get sued very quickly and easily for violating people's freedom of speech. You can't do that. I'm just telling you so you don't get in trouble. If you are a government entity, you are not allowed to turn off your comments. nor are you allowed to delete comments, nor are you allowed to block people. The only time you're allowed to delete comments or block someone is if they are posting things that can get your account banned or taken down. That's it. But just because someone's posting something you don't like or disagreeing with you, you cannot delete their comments and you can't take them down, nor can you turn off your comments. You can't do that. There have been quite a few government agencies learn that the hard way. There are lawyers, there are entire law firms out there, searching for those cases because they're very easy to win. So if you want to cost your city, your town, or your county a couple $1 million, then do that. So if you or anybody you know works for the town of Blountsville, you need to advise them immediately. If they still have comments turned off, they need to turn them back on immediately. I think Lewingo's husband and BC are around the same age because we're all around the same age, us three. So I know her husband knows him if she doesn't. Sorry, we're having our own little conversation here. Catherine, who are you talking about? Very long history of immorality with that family. What family are you talking about? Their lawyers may not even know. Somebody on YouTube said their lawyers should have already instructed them about this, and I bet they figure they can get away with it. Again, something I see often is the small towns, their attorneys are just attorneys from that town, and so sometimes they don't know either. They don't understand. They're not the best attorneys in the world. I'm not saying whoever the attorney is for Blountsville is not. Please don't misunderstand me. I don't know who they are. I'm just talking about my experience dealing with a lot of these small towns. That's what I see a lot. But either way, They 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 can't do that. Oh, you're talking about Denise. Ah, there's a lot more to Denise than we realized or than we knew. Yes, we are doing the public demonstration at the ramp at one of the dates in July. And I'm going to put some uh, places on the website to where you can go and click and sign up that you're probably going to be able to come, because we needed an approximate number of people for the permit. And then also there's 3 dates. I don't remember the dates off the top of my head. I'll have to look. But it's a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in July. And so I want everyone to message us via the website which one of those dates would work best for you, and then whichever one of those dates works best for the most people, that's the date we'll choose to do it. But we have to do it. The reason we can't do the one in June is because we have to have the permit and stuff, all that information in no later than 30 days prior to the event. So we missed the June one, but we will be doing the July one. Amanda, who's very old? Are you talking about me? Am I very old? I don't think I'm very old. Do we have merch? Not yet, but it's coming within the next, hopefully, week. The merch will be up on the website. It's coming. The city attorney. Oh, okay. No, nobody asked you, Lowingo. Your Chamber of Commerce turned off their comments when they thought. I think they probably allowed to. That's because the Chamber of Commerce is not a government entity. It's more of a. I think it's probably considered more of like a nonprofit thing or something. But so I think they're allowed to. They shouldn't. I mean, nobody should, but. Denise said, you mentioned to me again, what did I do? People on here are claiming that you're at a large part, and I'm just telling you what people on here are claiming. I'm not saying this is true, but a large part of your family has been involved in this kind of immorality, as they said, for a long time. That it's kind of a big thing in your family and that it's kind of accepted. Now, again, I'm not saying that's true. I'm just telling you what 2 different people got on here and said. Oh, yeah, Denise, are you Shannon Reagan's aunt? That's what people were saying as well. We could probably make that happen, Melissa. Denise says she is not Shannon Reagan's aunt. Now, seriously, Denise, like 3 or 4 different people said that a while ago that you were Shannon's aunt. But you're saying that you're not? Okay, you are. You just said it's not true. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess you were talking about the other thing you were saying. Okay, so Denise is Shannon Reagan's aunt. So that makes more sense as to why. Denise, you have to understand, just because it's your family doesn't mean you have to take up for them. The man that's my biological father is been in prison almost my whole life. I've never taken up for him and never will, because he's evil. Plus, he did horrible things to me when I was little. But he's evil. I will never stand up for him, ever. So just because they're your family, you don't have to stand up for them. We don't get to choose our family. We get to choose our friends. But we don't get to choose our family. So when your family is doing something really horrible, you should speak up against them, not for them, just because they're your family. No, Denise, I'm talking specifically about Shannon and Joseph. Shannon is still with Joseph after knowing what he has done, after knowing for a fact he is a child predator. And I believe that Shannon and Joseph have children. Those children need to be interviewed by law enforcement. That's just a fact. I believe he has a daughter almost the same age as the victim he was messaging and saying these horrible things to. That's very concerning. So, therefore, your great niece, the chances of that she was a victim of a child predator are very, very high. And I tell you that because I'm truly concerned about her. And so the family needs to get her to talk to someone to see. Because if she was, she's going to need help for the rest of her life. I know how child predators work. I mean, I'm literally putting together a full course right now, teaching parents, teachers, law enforcement how to spot child predators, how to figure out who child predators are, how to protect their children from child predators, the grooming behaviors that child predators do. Let me tell you something when I tell you about Joseph Reagan. The things he said to that 16-year-old, grooming 101. Literally. That means he has literally studied it. He learned, so he sat down and he specifically learned how to groom. That's very scary because that is what child predators do. No, you're great. Okay. I was told Joseph Reagan has a child around the same age as his victim that we're talking about. So she would be, I don't know, 22, 23 now. But let me explain this to you. I know what Joseph Reagan has done. And the things he said. Child predators pass these, they literally, I hate that this is true. They literally have manuals that they pass around online, teaching each other specifically how to groom children, the exact specific things to say, things to do. And he was doing every single one of those spot on. That tells me he has literally researched those manuals. He learned those things. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. Yes, he does. See, you're telling, who is the expert here, Denise? You or me? And stop saying the girl was 18. When he first started messaging her, she was 16. She turned 17 during that time. She was never 18 during the time that he messaged her. Plus, it doesn't matter that she was, even if she was 18, it does not matter because she was a high school student in the school where he was the SRO. He was technically, he was a school employee. That makes it illegal. That is a felony in the state of Alabama for what he was doing. Even though he didn't touch her, if he didn't, and I hope he didn't, we don't know that he didn't, but I promise you he has touched some. I promise you. But you need to realize he is a child predator. He is a trained child predator. The things he was saying are literally textbook. These people don't wake up and just know how to do this. They have to learn it. So we're talking about a grown man that was sitting around going, okay, I want this child. I want this one. How do I get them? And he went on specific websites, more than likely. It's how most people get the information. And he researched this, and he got a hold of one of those manuals, and he learned from it, and he used those techniques. Team, I mean, and I want to correct myself if I'm wrong. Am I thinking about another case that we've been talking about lately where the child predator's daughter was around the same age as the victim? I was thinking that was this one. I mean, maybe I was wrong, but I'll have to go back and look, but I thought that was the case. Yes, he was the school resource officer for the school where this girl was the high school student. Now, if he has even younger children, I'm very concerned. And if he has even younger children, then we will make sure that Department of Human Resources, DHR in Alabama, is aware of that and they open an investigation on him. Because his children do not need to be living with him if he has younger children. Again, his children they didn't get to choose who their father was. It's not their fault. And they shouldn't have to be a victim just because he's their father. And somebody needs to protect those children. And if you're a family member, you need to be doing everything you can to protect those children. Why is it he in jail? It's a very good question. Because none of the law enforcement around there did the right thing. Etowah County failed. Blountsville City failed. So his kids are in elementary. So I apologize. I must have been thinking about another case that we've been talking about and looking at. But he does have children, and his children are currently in elementary school. So that makes me even, I'm a lot more concerned now. Jesus Christ, what are we doing? So either his wife just turns a blind eye to this, or she's so gullible, she doesn't want to believe it. Whatever the case is, those children do not need to be in that house. And I'd never say that lightly. I would never suggest children need to be taken away from their parents unless I truly 100% felt they needed to be. Well, either way, even if Shannon was a victim herself at the time, it doesn't excuse her allowing her children to be a victim. It doesn't excuse her staying with a child predator. It doesn't excuse her publicly speaking out for a child predator. But I'm very concerned that Denise, his wife Shannon, and I'm sure other family members and friends legit don't consider him a child predator and truly think that he has done nothing wrong. Because again, that is way more concerning than if they realized it and just still wanted to take up for him. But I can tell a lot of them don't think that. They have not realized it because they are turning their blinders on. That is very concerning to me, because that means if he has done this to his children, or if he does this to his children in the future, they're going to feel the same way. And we're going to be talking about them the same way that we have. I know we have some previous victims on here right now that lived through this when they were growing up. A close family member, whether it was a parent or an uncle, aunt, whatever, did these horrible things to them, and they went to their parents and told them, and their parents either one didn't believe them, or number two told them, okay, we'll tell them not to do that anymore, but we don't want to embarrass the family. You know, we all go to church. We're church people. We're Christians. We don't want to embarrass the family, so we're going to keep this between ourselves. That's what his children will go through. Too many people have been covering up for this man, including his own wife. The state should pick up charges and prosecute him just like anyone else would be. I'm so glad this has been getting the attention it deserves. Minors should be protected regardless of who the predator is. No, Renee, you're exactly right. That's why we do what we do, because I don't give a shit who you are. I don't care what position you're in. If you're harming a child, if you're a child predator, I'm going to call you out. I'm going to make sure everyone that possibly can know knows. You're exactly right, William. The law enforcement agencies he's worked for didn't want that bad publicity, so they swept it under the rug. That's what happened. Again, it's the same thing with the churches that do it. We see this a lot in churches where a church leader, a deacon, which, oh, by the way, we found out Joseph Reagan himself is surprised a deacon. It's crazy what most of these child predators have in common. If you don't realize this, let me explain this to you. A very, very large percentage of child predators are highly active in their churches. They're highly active in their local communities. They're well respected. And people trust them. Because at the end, they have learned how to manipulate everyone. And they're going to be in positions around children. That's why they're in the churches. That's why they're active in the churches. And this is what they do. That's why it drives me insane. If the only reason you're taking up for someone is that when I hear you say, well, I go to church with them, they're a great person. That right there throws up a red flag to me. Because that tells me you're putting your blinders on just because they go to church with you. And even if it's right in front of your face, you're not going to see it. That's the way our human brain works. I do not understand the stand by your man women. If my man did that crap, we would be done. And if the kids were little, he would not see them. No, you're exactly right. I hear that. A lot of Brittany Stapleton supporters say this. What, do you expect her to not stand by her husband? Yes, that's exactly what I expect. I expect her to not stand by him, considering he's a child predator. That's exactly what she should do. I don't care who you are to me. If I find out you're a child predator, I'm not going to be taking up for you. I'm not going to be standing up for you. I'm going to be speaking out against you. I'm going to be doing everything I can to take you down. I don't care who you are. I don't care. I will take you down. You'll let me take about a 2-minute break, and I'll be right back. Welcome to Truth Recon. I'm Agent D. Baker, former narcotics detective, SWAT team member, and U.S. Navy combat veteran. With years of real-world experience in high-stakes environments, I've seen firsthand the dangers that lurk both in our communities and now increasingly online. Before this show begins, understand this. What you are about to hear may be disturbing to some audiences. This podcast contains explicit language, dark themes, and real conversations that are not suitable for children and may be triggering for some individuals. If you choose to continue, do so knowing this content is intended for mature audiences only. Discretion is advised. TikTok's killing me. TikTok just flagged me for playing unoriginal content when I played my own intro video. Jesus Christ. No, you're not hearing yawning. You're hearing things. Denise, the point is you have nieces and nephews, and you don't see that Joseph Reagan is a child predator when it's literally right in front of your face. It could not be more clear. You will not find anyone that works with child predators, that works against child predators, that investigates them, that would read those messages and say, nah, he may not be a child predator. You won't find one. And the fact that y'all don't see that, again, it's very concerning, because that means when it is your children or your nieces or your nephews, you're not going to see it there either. And those children do not deserve that. They deserve people to stand up for them. Y'all are the kind that if a 12-year-old girl is wearing a skirt and a grown man messes with her, you're going to say she was asking for it. That's the kind of people you are. And that is, it, you couldn't be more ignorant than that. I've seen more victim blaming on this case than I've seen on any other rest of them. You're exactly right, Angel. Angel said, if the girl's father or her family members had done something to this sick man, the state or the county would have been the first to arrest them and throw them in jail because he has rights. What about the girl's family's rights? No, you're exactly right. So we as people just sit back and let this predator roam the streets, have no consequences. That's what our county does. Well, we're not sitting back any longer on him, because now that we're made aware of it, and we've already made things happen, and we're not finished. We are not finished. Denise, I don't have to know anything about you. It's called patterns. It's called human behavior. It's something I teach. I teach people how to observe and recognize patterns in human behavior. I don't have to know you. I see the things you're saying, the word usage you're using, and the way you're saying them. And I know everything I need to know about your nephew, Joseph Reagan, and know that you're standing up for him. So I don't have to know you personally. The FBI has these people they call profilers. That's what they do. Profilers are very good at what they do because they are trained to recognize patterns in human behavior. Again, I never knew Ted Bundy personally. Don't have to. I know what kind of man he was. I never knew John Wayne Gacy personally. Didn't have to. I know what kind of man he was. You see what I'm saying? I don't have to know you personally to know what kind of person you are. Oh, that's awesome, Lewingo. Lewingo's child's college coach called him today, and he was voted most favorite team player. Am I allowed to tell who his coach is? I don't have to. Okay, she says I can. Her son's coach is Scott Cochran, who was the yeah guy that was the strength and conditioning coach at the University of Alabama for years and then at the University of Georgia. He is now the head football coach at West Alabama. Really cool guy. Everybody knows him. He's crazy, but a good crazy. JC, you're probably spot on, and it's sad, but you're probably exactly right. Hey, I'll take all the prayers that anybody wants to give me. You can pray over me, but you're probably exactly right. But no, we're going. I'm going to call out child predators. I'm going to call out the people who take up for them because I know every time somebody gets on social media and makes an ignorant comment, there are tons of victims reading that comment, previous victims that had to go through that stuff as a child. And I can't imagine how that makes them feel. And they shouldn't have to see those ignorant comments because people shouldn't be that ignorant. People should not ever be taking up and standing up for a child predator. Again, we're not talking about somebody that we think he is. We're not talking about someone that's alleged to be. We know for a fact he is. We have seen all the evidence. Maybe Joseph Reagan and what was her name? Katie Kilgore and Nick Smith and Karen Wheaton and God, everybody else, the Stapletons. Maybe they can all get together and have a big watch party one night and watch my live. Well, it happened. Angel, I don't know if you're talking about Blount County or Etowah County, but this happened in Etowah County, so that's the county that would have to be working this, and they have refused to do anything. In fact, when it happened, they told the victim's parents, that there was nothing they could do. And that was a lie. That was ignorant. It was corrupt. They didn't, like William said earlier, they didn't want that bad publicity brought on their agency, and that's why they didn't do anything. Renee, that's why I'm doing that's why we're doing what we're doing, to try to prevent that. We are notifying APOST, who is in charge of the law enforcement certifications in the state of Alabama. So we're going to make sure they have all the evidence. And so hopefully they will pull his certification where he can never be in law enforcement again. But on top of that, we have to continue to talk about this. We have to bring as much awareness to this as possible so everyone knows. We have to make everyone aware. So no matter where he goes next and tries to get a job, they're going to, hey, you're that guy they're talking about on the internet. So no, we don't want that. We don't want that here. Because that podcast guy is going to be talking about us next, and we don't want that publicity. Denise, if a doctor came to you tomorrow and said, Denise, you have your gallbladder stopped working, we have to remove it, or it may take your life. Do you look at that doctor and say, hold on, let me go to med school so I know for a fact what I'm looking at, and then you're going to have to show the evidence to me, and I'm going to have to look at it and know for a fact that my gallbladder needs removed before I'm going to let you operate on me? Do you do that? Or do you go, you know what? This medical doctor that spent years training and learning probably knows what he's talking about, so I probably don't want to chance this. So yeah, let's let him remove my gallbladder. That's an honest question. Do you look at him and say, you're not touching me because you can't prove it to me? Yeah, you can show me the test, but I don't know what I'm looking at because I'm not a trained doctor. I'm not a trained nurse or whatever. So since I can't see the evidence, since I can't be 100% sure what that evidence says, even though you're showing me a picture of this test and saying, this is your gallbladder, this is showing it's not working. But even though you don't know for sure what that is, do you say, no, I'm not letting you operate on me. I'll take my chances. If it takes me out, it takes me out. That's exactly what you are doing right now with Joseph Reagan. Even though tons of people are telling you this is the evidence, this proves it. Even though experts are telling you this is the evidence, he is a child predator, you're still refusing to acknowledge that and believe that because you don't understand the evidence. Thank you, Heather. I impressed myself there with that little analogy. I just came up with that. As it was coming out, I was impressing myself. Like, you know what? That does make a lot of sense. I'll keep that in my head from now on, though, because I do think it's a good analogy. But I mean, it's the truth. That's what Denise is doing. Oh my God, Gloria, are you serious? I'm so sorry. I was trying to think of something that wasn't bad that would not trigger somebody. That's why I said that, and I've had my gallbladder removed. So, because I was at first going to say the C word, so I was like, no, we're not going to go down that route or anything because I don't want to trigger somebody. And so I swear I was trying to think of something that was kind of usually not that serious. So I'm very sorry. I really am. But Joseph Reagan spent months grooming, textbook grooming a 16-year-old. We now know there's publicly at least 2 other girls spoken out that he tried similar things with them. As I said the other night, if you missed it, I had over 20. And this is what upset me the most about this whole case. Blountsville City they put out the announcement that he had resigned. Within a couple of hours after that, within that next 24 hours, I'd received over 20 messages from at least 20 different females telling me their story about Joseph Reagan. And that bothered me so bad in a lot of ways. Number one, I knew there were going to be a lot more victims because, again, the pattern with child predators, there's always a lot of victims. They don't just do this once, especially when they do it and get away with it like he did. That's going to cause him to do it even more. So there's always multiple victims. And then when it clicked to me that, hold on, I've been talking about this for about 4 or 5 days, and none of them messaged me. Why did they all message me in the same 24 hours? And then I realized, okay, they started messaging me right after they announced he was no longer the police chief. So prior to that, that tells you all those 20 plus females were still too scared to speak out at all about him and tell anyone their story because he was still the active police chief. And as soon as they saw, thank God, he's no longer in that position of authority, I can at least tell somebody. So, and there's no way that's all of them. There's no way. So if you take at least 20 messaged me their stories about him and was afraid to message me before when he was still the police chief, they've been living with that little fear for however long it's been going on with them. If that doesn't upset you, there's something truthfully sick and wrong with you. If you can't understand that, that's the kind of person Joseph Reagan is. That's how many people he has put in fear because he is an evil POS that has no business on this earth. He is worthless scum to society, and he deserves everything that happens to him from now on. It's as simple as that. Exactly, Isha. Can you imagine how many more are still afraid to speak? And that's what I'm saying. There's no way that was all of them, and there's no way every single one of them that had a story about him contacted me. There are probably hundreds of victims. The same thing with Joey Vick in Walker County, the corner. Now we know there are hundreds of victims that he's been getting away with it for years because he was in a position of power and a position of authority. It's the same thing with Joseph Reagan. And ignorant people like you, Denise, are the reason they keep getting away with it, because you don't care about the children they're harming. You do not care. You can say you do all day. You are standing up for a child predator, and you are refusing to see the evidence that's right in front of your face because you don't want it to be true. And if he has any victims from here on out, which I'm sure he will as long as he's out of jail, some of that's going to be on you. And if you can still sleep good with yourself at night knowing that, you're an evil piece of shit yourself. And if Shannon Reagan can sleep with herself at night knowing who her husband is, and she's speaking out publicly for him and still standing by him, she's an evil piece of shit too. And she is worthless to society. Now, if she is a victim herself of his, then I do have sympathy for her. But she is a grown adult. And at some point, when you know children are still being harmed, you have to stand up and say, I don't care what this is going to do to me. I've got to speak out and save these victims and protect them. That's what a real adult does. No, I guarantee you his wife blames it on the 16-year-old, just like he did. She was coming on to him. He couldn't help himself. It's her fault. She came on to him. That's what he said. But it is a big problem when now TikTok's trying to kick me off because I'm bullying. I will bully child predators and child predator sympathizers all day and love it and sleep very well at night knowing it. So get over yourself, TikTok. You freaking communist platform. I know my team's about to be pissed at me for that, but they pissed me off. Anyway. Yeah, he was so flattered by a 16-year-old. And he was a 40-something-year-old man. And why there is not thousands and thousands and thousands of people doing exactly what I am right now, that's part of the problem too. We need way more people that are not scared to just sit here and say the truth and tell the truth and call people out. Stop worried about fucking being sued. Stop worrying about that stuff and do the right thing. Could you not just post their comment? You pinned a comment to read their comment. Could you not just pin their comment? Hold on, let me try to find this comment they're talking about. See, I don't see a comment from them. For some reason, I'm not seeing it. So if y'all can find it, pin it for me because yeah, I don't see one from them. I don't see a comment from them at all, actually. Oh, okay, I see it. All right, they pinned it. Are you talking about the Morgan County Sheriff's Department? They just had a yeah, I think yeah, they had an inmate lose their life in their jail. But no, we're not currently talking about Morgan County. I have talked about them recently with the child predator that they hired, and we're going to get back on that more. And I've got someone that is agreed to be a guest on the podcast that knows a lot of insights on that. I'm looking forward to that. Um, but yeah, I mean, we saw the same thing up there. Maybe that was the one I was thinking about with the daughter. Actually, um, I think it was. That was one I was getting mixed up with. And uh, hold on, I'll tell you his name. Yeah, that's exactly the one. When I kept saying a daughter around the same age as the victim, that was that Morgan County one. So I apologize. That was not uh, Joseph Reagan. That was trying to find the stinking file. I can't find it. Team, help me out. What was the Morgan County guy's name? Uh, I try to. I mean, I no, I'm not. I don't just cover Alabama stuff. Um, Anything that's brought to my attention that needs awareness brought to it, especially with child predators, then I'll cover. Uh, but I've definitely covered other. I've definitely covered cases in other states. It's just the Alabama stuff is what most people they'll message me about these cases and stuff, and so they're just brought to my attention more. But anytime someone brings another one out of state, because we just covered a Texas attorney a couple of days ago or sometime within the last week, and then I did a lot of coverage on the Aaron Spencer case out of Arkansas, Lonoke County, Arkansas, and then there's been others. Team, what? Come on, somebody tell me the. I made a podcast on it. Let me see. Anthony Clark. Anthony Clark, the former high school basketball coach, worked Andalusia City Schools. Very similar. I mean, that's why I got them mixed up. This case is so similar to Joseph Reagan's in a ton of ways. The only difference really is with Anthony Clark, the victim sued the school system because they pushed it under the rug, and they ended up having to pay the victim multi-millions in the lawsuit. And then after all of that, Puckett, what's Morgan County's sheriff's first name? Is it Ron? I don't know. His last name's Puckett or Plunkett. It's been a long day. It's been a long day, and it's midnight. Anyway, the Morgan County, Alabama sheriff hired this child predator to work at his jail, to be a recruiter for his jail. After all that, he knew all that. Yeah, Ron is his name. So, and this guy, Anthony Clark's record of being a child predator was even more. I mean, there were so many victims that had spoken out, that people knew, that everybody knew about. And so many people covered up for this guy. Again, it's so similar to Joseph Reagan. So many freaking people covered up for him. I don't get it. I don't care if you were my best friend. If you were doing that, I'm done with you. I don't understand. Where do you live, Stephen? Do you live in Blount County? You're talking about Chris Hansen. I know he's done a lot of work in Blount County. Yeah, Ron Puckett. That's it. No, and I have a ton of respect for Moon, the Blount County sheriff, because I know how often he has worked with Chris Hansen. He's constantly asking him to come back and do more stings there. So Sheriff Moon is against child predators, 100%, and they have put a lot away there. And that's the thing. It's not that there are that many more child predators in Blount County. It's just you have a sheriff that actually cares about it and takes them down and invites these organizations in to do that, versus a lot of the other counties, they don't want people to realize how many child predators they have, so they don't invite them in. Well, I feel very privileged. I have been added to the infamous group chat. That's the most exciting thing I've had in a day. All day. Y'all made my day. But no, you could do those. I mean, you can go to any county, town in the United States and do those stings all day, every day. That's how many child predators there are out there. And again, the reason there are so many and the reason so many get away with it is because of their sympathizers, of people that take up for them nonstop. I mean, we've had Denise on here on Facebook all night standing up for one. And I don't get it. I never will. Oh, my team says to tell y'all, the other group chat, can you please let them know you don't respond to group messages? I may respond to theirs. I'll respond to y'all's, just not as often as you would like. But no, I'm a huge fan of Chris Hansen, and I was on his podcast a while back. Go check out that episode, and then I'll probably be on his a couple more times. He's an amazing person, and dedicated his life to taking down child predators. I mean, the work he has done is unbelievable, and he continues to. How often do I check my messages? I mean, I check my messages every day. The problem is some days I'll get like I showed on here. I think it was Wednesday night. Like in one day last week, I got I got over 300 messages in one day. So some days I'll get a ton of messages, and it's just impossible for me to get to all of them. So, but that's why that's one reason we fixed the website. So if you want to send me a message and know for a fact that me or my team will read it, and also keep in mind, so for a long time, I need to bring this up. So for a long time, I have tried to just be because I take anonymity very seriously, because I know a lot of people that message me info don't want their names put out there, and I promise, and I'll always promise, your name will never be put out. I will never repeat a name ever. I take that very serious. And for a long time, I said, I'm the only person that will see your name, and because I would go through the messages, and then I would take the information from the message and send that to my team so they could sift through everything, but they wouldn't see a name. Well, it's impossible now. I can't. It's impossible. So what's happening is I'm just missing hundreds of messages. I'm missing hundreds. So my team, a small portion of my team, will be seeing all the messages that we get now, but they're all of my team are under NDAs, so they're not allowed to say anything, nor would they. I mean, if I did not trust them 100%, they wouldn't be on my team. I vet them very good. It's a very long vetting process. I mean, I legit do a full background check and talk to people that know them. I take it very serious, and so you can trust them, but it's gotten to where now, like I said, I'm having to bring in two or three of them to where they're going to be monitoring the messages too. That way we're not missing messages, and the ones that we see that stand out that we're like, hey, we need to get back in touch with them, whatever, we'll be able to get to those. So, but back to what I was saying, I don't know if I finished. The best way from now on, if you want to know the only way that I can assure you that we will see your messages, if you go to the website, agentdbaker.com. So it's very simple, agentdbaker.com, and you click on the contact button. You can't miss it. There's a whole thing. Click on that. You put your name, and you don't even have to put your real name. You can put whatever name you want to, but you put your name, your email address, and a message. Obviously, put your real email address so we can get back with you. But and we will be seeing all of those messages will be getting sifted through and monitored. So if you have information to send me, or if you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, or question, whatever the case may be, there's different categories you can click on there, but go through the website, and that's the one we're going to be monitoring from now on, because I get way too many on the social media platforms, and it's impossible for me to keep up with. But yeah, so if you ever have any information or, like I said, question, whatever, send it on through the website. Because I'll be going back through sometimes when I have a little downtime, which is not common at all, but I'll start going through like messages I got literally in October and September and December of last year. And it'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe I missed this. And it's just one I never saw until now. And so, and some of it was like great information I needed then that would have helped us a lot, or somebody that truly needed our help then. And now that's way past, and I feel really bad about it. So we've had to change it. Most of my podcasts are remote, but I do have it set up now to do in studio guest. I have the setup now, but if it's a guest from Tennessee or New York or something, I mean, I'm not going to have them come all the way here, travel here to Alabama. So we will do it remote. So I can do either, to answer your question. I prefer in studio, and that's what eventually that's what we're going to get to. And we're adding at some point I've got a lot more room to make the studio much bigger, and we're going to be doing that once more finances start coming in. But we're moving towards eventually I want all my guests to be in studio, but that'll just be when we get a little bigger. But for now, I can do either. Yeah, all of my lives are saved and can be rewatched at any time on Facebook and YouTube. Now, Facebook is only up for like 30 days and then they go away. YouTube, they're there. All of my previous lives are there, as far as I know. So you can go back and watch any of those at any time. But they're also on Facebook for the next 30 days after them. And then you can catch all my full podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. Oh, seriously, Lil Wingo? Are you the last one left? How? It's not that late. It's just midnight. We've gone for a lot longer than this before. One thing I want to talk about quickly, though, before I go, because this is another thing that's driving me insane. Out of state, let me explain something to y'all with this. So, especially for those of you that live in Alabama, we have a huge Senate race runoff that the runoff election is Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. Barry Moore is one of those candidates, and he is currently a Alabama U.S. congressman. They are let me be clear. They are spending millions a day attacking Jared Hudson. Millions a day, all out of state money. The lies they are spreading about him, and if anybody ever comes to me and tries to tell me Barry Moore is a good man again, I may knock your teeth down your throat if you catch me in the wrong time, because that's the biggest lie I've ever heard. Don't anybody ever come to me. I'm just joking. I'm not going to do that. Let me be sure to tell you I'm just joking. But I'm not going to be happy, and I'm not going to listen to that bullshit. Barry Moore is a piece of shit, and he is proving himself. For him to spread all of these lies when he knows for a fact it's lies is wrong. It's completely wrong. And the fact that all of his money is coming from other states, that should tell you something. They are grasping at straws because they know. And if you don't know this, if you've not kept up with my podcast recently, the main reason I can't stand Barry Moore anymore, because I actually had some respect for him until I found out he's been lying to us for the last 15 years about his military service. And as a combat veteran myself, that really pisses me off and is very disrespectful. Barry Moore is not a veteran. I can't be more clear. I can't be more clear. Barry Moore is not a veteran in any way whatsoever. And he is still right now telling you he's a veteran. And then he got on a phone call with Donald Trump yesterday. Okay, I voted for Trump both times, or all three times. I think Trump was a great president until he got us in this war that is ridiculous, and nobody knows why we're in the war. And I'm pissed at Trump right now anyway, because he lied to us. And again, I don't care who you are. If you lie and you do wrong, I'm going to call you out. Trump lied to us, and I don't care how much you like him, you have to admit that. If you refuse to admit that, you're as ignorant as these far leftists that have this Donald Trump syndrome or whatever they call it. Understand that. But he gets Donald Trump on the phone yesterday, and Donald Trump says he is a veteran, like he knows. Because let me tell you who else is not a veteran, Donald Trump. He's never fought for our country. Nor has Barry Moore. And the fact that he is still claiming he is a veteran, and the fact that they are spending millions. They have brought in over $5 million in the last 2 days to his campaign because they know they have screwed up with him lying about his military service. And if you never listen to anything I ever say, listen to this. Please vote Jared Hudson this Tuesday. If you live in Alabama, go to the polls. Please go to the polls, because that's going to be the hardest part, is getting people to the polls in runoffs. But this is very important, because this is going to determine who our U.S. Senator for Alabama is for the next 10 years at least. It's very important. And we don't want Barry Moore, who has been lying to us for over 15 years about his military service, trying to act like the veteran. Let me tell you what Barry Moore did, and I have his full service record. I have Barry Moore's full military service record that was sent to me 3 or 4 days ago. Every bit of it. Let me tell you something. Barry Moore served 2.5 years in the Alabama National Guard. He joined the Alabama National Guard as soon as he got out of high school. And he took the GI Bill. And the GI Bill paid for his college through Auburn University. As soon as he finished college, he was under a 6-year contract. And as soon as he finished college, he quit the National Guard and went and took a civilian job somewhere. So he used the GI Bill and then literally gave nothing back to the Army or the United States for it. He used them, literally, to pay for his college. He served 2.5 years. That's it. No more. And he still will sit here and say he served 6 years. No, he did not. That is a lie. That's a bold lie. And the fact, all of these crazy ads that they're putting out in this last week because they screwed up, because now we have found out Barry Moore is a freaking scam and a piece of shit that wants to act like he's done the same thing some of us veterans have done when he never did anything. We are true veterans. And I don't care if you were deployed or not. You can still be a veteran. If you serve 20 years in the military, whether it's reserves or National Guard or whatever, you're a veteran. And I have the utmost respect for you. But if you did that, you spent a lot of time away from your family and your friends. And you were willing to go to war if needed. Barry Moore was never deployable, ever. Because he went to basic training, and that's it. That's literally all the training he got in the military. That's it. He never even had an MOS. He never had an MOS. He was never deployable, ever. And if anybody tells you any different, they are lying. That's a bold lie. I have the paperwork. Exactly. He didn't serve anything. He got a free ride and didn't sacrifice anything. And it pisses me off that he's been confident and touting for the last 15 years that he's a veteran. In every election he's ran in, I'm a veteran. And he's been lying the whole time. He's not a veteran. And all of these lies where they're trying to say that Jared Hudson has no respect for National Guardsmen or reservists, and he says if you were in National Guard or reservist, you're not a real veteran. Jared Hudson has never said anything like that. Not even close. That's a lie. I've never said anything like that. That's a lie. What we are calling out is specifically Barry Moore because he has been lying. And the fact that there's so many people out there still trying to say, I know Barry Moore. He is a great person. He's a true Christian. No, he's not. Because if he was a legit person and a legit Christian and a good person, he wouldn't be lying about this. He's a piece of shit. And he's bought and paid for. And all this money's been hitting him in the last week is proof. He is bought and paid for. And the reason Donald Trump, listen, I'm a Trump fan, but I'm also smart enough to know Donald Trump is not going to back you unless he knows he can 100% control you because that's the kind of person he is. If Donald Trump doesn't think he can fully control you, he's not going to back you. Donald Trump knows he can't control Jared Hudson because he's a real man. He's a true warrior, too. Barry Moore is none of those things. And Barry Moore is going to do every single thing he is told to do. He cannot think for himself, nor will he ever think for himself. And Barry Moore has become a disgrace to this entire state and this country now. And I will never shut up talking about him from now on because I've seen who he really is now. I will never stop. I don't care if he is on his deathbed in the hospital. I'm going to down him. I'm going to talk about him and make fun of him and call him everything I possibly can and call him the piece of shit that he is because that's what he is. To go around and keep acting like and taunting like you're a veteran, that you know what it's like to be a veteran. No, you don't. You know nothing about it, dude. And he says, I've worn combat boots. That doesn't make you a veteran. Guess what? Any of you can go buy, literally purchase combat boots tomorrow and put them on and train them. It doesn't make you a freaking veteran. That's what he's trying to claim. He was never deployable. He never went to an A school, or what do y'all call it in the Army? AIT school. He never went to an AIT school. So he never had an MOS. He never had a job in the Army. And the only thing he has going for him is Donald Trump. And that's literally all he's running off of. That's all he has. He keeps on saying, and all of his people keep saying, what? If you vote against Barry Moore, you're voting against Donald Trump. First off, I'd vote against Donald Trump right now because he's gotten us in this freaking war that nobody knows why we're in, and he completely lied to us, and he is ruining everything we have right now. And he has screwed a lot of things up because of this war. There is literally no reason whatsoever we should still be in this war. None. He lied to us. He lied to us. That's the fact. And I'm not ignorant and gullible enough that I'm going to stand by somebody just because I voted for them. If they start doing wrong, I'm going to call them out. That's literally what I've said about Jared Hudson. I said, I will put my own reputation online. If Jared Hudson gets to DC and he doesn't do the things he says, if he becomes somebody that he says he's not, I will quit doing this. That's how much confidence I have in him because I know who he is. I know he is the real deal. He is a true Christian. I told somebody this today. I wish I was half the Christian Jared Hudson is. Truly. He is a true God-fearing man, and he lives by that every day. This is not a mask he has. Barry Moore obviously has a lot of people fooled. But a true Christian that says they walk throughout every day as a true Christian does not do the things Barry Moore's doing right now. They don't lie about something as serious as military service. They don't pretend they've gone through things that true warriors have gone through. And none of us are downing National Guard or reservist. None of us. That's not what we're talking about. Those components are just as important, if not more. They're just as important as active duty. I understand that. And there are tons of people serving in those components that are true veterans. The fact is, Barry Moore is not one. And just because Donald Trump says he's a veteran doesn't make him a veteran. He doesn't get to make that determination. There's literal definitions. And Barry Moore meets none of them. And again, this is not about politics anymore. I would be calling him out and saying this even if there wasn't an election going on, because I don't like people that lie about their military service. That tells me a lot about you. Number one, the most concerning thing it tells me about you is you're not proud enough of the things that you have truly done in life that you got to make up things. And that's very concerning. Very concerning. Just that tells me a lot. And number two, it tells me you will tell whatever lie you need to that you think will get you voted in office. And that's a big red flag as well. Go to the polls Tuesday, please, and vote for Jared Hudson. I'm not getting paid anything by this. I've heard that so many times. It's ridiculous. Jared Hudson's campaign has never paid me and never will. I'm not getting paid anything by them. This is me personally speaking, because I know who he really is, and I know that is legit who we need in D.C. Another thing about Jared Hudson, he has dedicated his life after the military. He's dedicated his entire life to taking down child predators. That's what he does. It's what he does for a living. That's who we need in D.C. Not Barry Moore, this pansy guy that had to lie about his military service to try to act big when he couldn't even do it. He quit. I don't like quitters. On top of all of that, I'm not a fan of quitters. Jared Hudson has never said anything negative about National Guard or reservist ever. Ever. That's a freaking lie. Now this ad just popped up. Records, witnesses tie Jared Hudson to Obama donor private plane. Give me a freaking break. People trying to say that Jared Hudson is a Democrat, is a secret Democrat, that is the funniest thing I've ever heard. Literally. That's the craziest, most ignorant thing I've heard so far about all of this. That's crazy. It's crazy. I'm tired. Listen. If you actually want someone that is going to think for themselves and actually stand up and do things for Alabamians, then you vote Jared Hudson. If you want somebody in there that's literally going to do everything he is told to do and is not in charge of any decision he ever makes, then vote Barry Moore, because that's who you're getting. And it's not surprising knowing what kind of person Barry Moore is now. I refuse to even call him a man anymore because he's not. But I'm tired of seeing all these. And Barry Moore and his campaign is consistently saying, oh, I don't mudsling. That's literally all you're doing now, dude. That's it. And us calling out you're lying about your military service is not mudslinging. That's us being factual and bringing awareness that you have been lying about a very important thing. I have nothing for Barry Moore anymore. He's a piece of shit. And I hope he's listening, because I know he's been watching some of my stuff. So, Barry, if you're listening right now, I have zero respect for you. I would not piss on you if you were on fire on the side of the road now. That's how I feel about you. Because I have real friends that didn't come home. And you trying to say you're the same as some of them is a disgrace. It's a pure disgrace. I myself spent over a year away from my family, away from this country, in the freaking worst weather in the hottest weather in the middle of the desert, putting my life on the line, risking my life. You never even left your hometown. Not once. You're not a veteran. Stop calling yourself a veteran. You're a disgrace is what you are. One day I might tell y'all how I really feel. It's just pissing me off so bad that so many people are still saying these lies and still trying to say Barry Moore is a good person. There's no way anybody that truly knows Barry Moore truly thinks he's a good person. There's no way. They're lying. I know what kind of person he is. He's 100% bought and paid for by tons of out-of-state money. But if you live in Alabama, and yes, somebody said it earlier, you had to have voted in the Republican primary. So if you voted in the Republican primary, go to the polls this Tuesday and vote for Jared Hudson. This is extremely important, and we have to start treating these elections as important as they are. But if you ever do anything from me, just do that. My attorney just sent me something that's probably spot on. Anyway, just do that. If you're all your friends, family, coworker, tell them. Just tell them. This is extremely important. And Jared Hudson is the real deal. He's not lying about anything. And what you see is what you get with him. All right. I think I'm going to call it a night. Hope you all have a great rest of your Friday night. I will see y'all back, hopefully, unless something changes, but hopefully Monday for a very, very special live at 2:30 p.m. So don't miss my live at 2:30 p.m. this Monday. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss it. This is the biggest podcast I've ever had that will be coming up. I'm so excited about it. Hopefully nothing happens with it and then that it goes through. I don't see why it wouldn't, but you never know. But as of right now, if something does change, I'll put it out. And then as soon as we can 100% confirm, then I will put it out and who it's with. But don't miss it. Make sure you mark that down. Make sure that you're subscribed to my YouTube channel so you can get notified every time I'm live or every time I drop a full podcast. And again, all I ask of you right now is to go, if you live in Alabama, go to the polls this Tuesday, and vote for Jared Hudson for United States Senate so we can get a actual real man that's going to do what he says and think for himself. Welcome to Truth Recon. I'm Agent D. Baker, former narcotics detective, SWAT team member, and U.S. Navy combat veteran. With years of real-world experience in high-stakes environments, I've seen firsthand the dangers that lurk both in our communities and now increasingly online. Before this show begins, understand this. What you are about to hear may be disturbing to some audiences. This podcast contains explicit language, dark themes, and real conversations that are not suitable for children and may be triggering for some individuals. If you choose to continue, do so knowing this content is intended for mature audiences only. Discretion is advised.